Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing the history of each franchise and today we are on the Charlotte Hornets. The NBA decided it was going to expand to 4 more teams in the 1988-1989 season, which happened to include Miami, Orlando, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Charlotte. So Charlotte was awarded a franchise in 1987 and George Shinn, the owner at the time, wanted the Charlotte Hornets to play in the Charlotte Coliseum, which held about 24,000 people, which actually is the largest NBA arena in NBA history. Like basically the largest arena to hold the most amount of people. I think I worded that kind of weird. It was the largest arena to ever serve full-time for an NBA team. There we go, that makes more sense. And a little side note, they were supposed to be called the Charlotte Spirit, but a fan contest wanted the Hornets, and the fan contest obviously won, so they were the Charlotte Hornets. George Shinn wanted to win right away, so instead of, building up a team with young players and developing, he wanted to go with veteran players to help get a lot of wins. And even though the Coliseum was so big, they did end up selling out at a certain point 364 consecutive games, so that's a lot of fans. But unfortunately, picking up veterans didn't work out at first because they ended up with a 26-56 record, and then in the 1991 draft, they drafted Larry Johnson, who was very important to the team and one of their building blocks to help them get some wins. He was among the league leader in points, and he actually won Rookie of the Year. Their other guard, Kendall Gill, averaged almost 20 points per game, so they had a nice tandem going there. They started getting some wins on the board. Also at this time, they also had Del Curry, which we all know is Steph Curry's dad, but at the time, he was known as Del Curry, one of the greatest three-point shooters. We all see what Steph does today, and obviously Steph is the greatest shooter ever, but he did get a lot of help from his dad, who was a great three-point shooter himself. And Del Curry actually played for the Hornets from 1988 to 1998, so he did have a decade with the Hornets. But even though they had some talent and, were putting points on the board and all that kind of stuff, they still only finished with a 31-51 record. They were back in the lottery for the 1992 season, and guess what they ended up with? Alonzo Mourning. Talk about good luck. And now they were building a nice young trio. You got Johnson, Larry Johnson, you got Kendall Gill, you got Alonzo Mourning, and you got, sharpshooter and Del Curry. That looks pretty good to me. They ended up finishing the next season with a 44-38 record and actually upset the Boston Celtics in the first round, but ended up losing to the Knicks in the second round. So the next couple of seasons, they were having some wins, 41-41 the next season after the previous one where they upset the Boston Celtics. They didn't make the playoffs. The year after, in the 94-95 season, they did make the playoffs, but they got bounced by the Bulls. So it was just a lot of that. Like, they weren't the worst team in the league. They were getting wins, but they weren't having playoff success. In the 95-96 season, they got Glenn Rice. They started to make some moves so that, again, they can get some wins, get a championship, have playoff success. But it was still just kind of the same thing for a little bit of a while. Like, they were getting wins, they were winning games. They had some 50-win seasons, but they weren't making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They weren't making it to the finals. In the 1996 offseason, they made some moves to trade for Anthony Mason. And then one of the biggest trades, in NBA history, trading their 13th overall pick for Vlade Divac for none other than Kobe Bryant. Obviously, rest in peace Kobe. We know what Kobe was on the court. It's just, it's kind of hard if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan to think about, or if you're, were that organization at the time, and it's just like, we traded away Kobe Bryant. But it is what it is. You can't go back. But it definitely was a great win for the Lakers, but not a great thing for the Charlotte Hornets. Like I said, they're winning games, but they're not having playoff success. So the next season after that, in the 97-98 season, they lost to obviously the championship Bulls, with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, all that kind of stuff. So again, they're winning games, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs. And now in the next season, just kind of similar to the seasons before, they just keep trying to make moves and they're acquiring good players and they're winning games. But now it's just kind of, getting on a downward slope. And in the 98-99 season, they only win 26 games. So now it's not looking too good for the Hornets. And this is where it gets kind of interesting because in the 2002, before the playoffs were over, they agreed for the next season that they would move to New Orleans, where they became the New Orleans Hornets, which we know, later on, Chris Paul played there and all that kind of stuff. So technically, even though this is Charlotte Hornets franchise, this is also the New Orleans Pelicans franchise history a little bit because they moved to New Orleans and that's where, they still play now, and they changed the name to the Pelicans eventually, which we'll get to. So it's kind of interesting, and is this Charlotte history franchise? Is this New Orleans? It's kind of both, so that's why we included here. After that, they were promised an NBA franchise, Charlotte was. So in the 2004 season, they did get a franchise again, And so now all's good. But now they're named the Charlotte Bobcats, not the Hornets. Although they featured some nice young talent at this point, again, you know, they weren't really winning any games. It's just kind of the same scenario over and over again. You have talent, but you're not getting anywhere. And then in 2006, Michael Jordan, of course, became a minority owner, as we know, and also the general manager of the team. And then in 2008, he just became one of the owners. And in 2008, they also hired Larry Brown, a Hall of Fame head coach. They're just trying to figure out, what do we do to win? Like, we have talent. I don't know what the problem is. And then the 2009-2010 season, they finally had a winning season. But then the next season, in 2010-2011, they had a losing record. And Larry Brown left, 20-ish games into the season because they were having a losing, well, I don't know if that's the only reason, but they were having a losing record and he just left. And now it's like, ugh, gotta start over again. Like, what do we do? And after that season, in the 2011 draft, they were able to pick Kemba Walker, which we all know how important Kemba was to that franchise. He helped lead them to a couple of playoff berths. And, obviously he was, and he is, a great scorer. He has great handles. Now he's on the Celtics. But for that period of time, he was looking like the person they were going to build around. And now at this time, we're still looking at the Charlotte Bobcats. But in 2013, the New Orleans Hornets, well, at the time, New Orleans Hornets, changed their name to New Orleans Pelicans, which they are now. And so Michael Jordan and obviously the Charlotte franchise, basically wanted to change the name to the Hornets again. And because the league bought the rights to the name, they still had to go through a process, but it was like a little bit faster. So by May 2014, they were now the Charlotte Hornets again. So within that time, they made the playoffs a few times, but then, when Kemba was a free agent, they had decided to move on from him. And now they're looking really good. They got a lot of nice young talent. You got LaMelo Ball, you got PJ Washington, Devontae Graham, you got Terry Rozier, you got Miles Bridges. Like, there's just so much young talent. They made the play-in tournament this year. And to be honest, we don't know how the season was going to turn out. But before LaMelo got hurt, they were the 4 seed. So, we can't assume, but we can gather some information that we think they might have actually had secured a playoff spot, but maybe not. And there you have it. That is the Charlotte Hornets franchise history. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye.